I think we always talk about generational wealth, and I think you can't really have an honest discussion about generational wealth without talking about today's topic, which is estate planning. And we have some dynamic presenters today who's going to be providing a lot of value. So I'm looking forward for that. So first, as always, I just wanted to start out with thank you to everybody who's joining. Also some housekeeping. We have a networking event, a joint networking event with the Rockville Chamber of Commerce and the Maryland LBGTQ Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be on October 20th, and it's going to be a speed networking. This is only for chamber members. This is going to be $25 to join, to attend. Melissa, you could, if you could just put that up on the screen and send everyone the link to register. If you've never done speed networking, it's really a cool experience, because what you're doing is you're sitting in front of another business owner or professional, and you guys are quickly explaining what each of you do and trying to explore if there's opportunities for you guys to connect. So if it's not really the same industry, or it's not really makes sense, quickly you can just move on to the next individual. So it's really good. I've done it before, and I got a ton of business cards, a ton of connections, a ton of opportunities. So again, that's going to be on October 20th from 5:30 to 7:30. $25 for Maryland Chamber members. If you're also here from the Rockville Chamber of Commerce or the Maryland LBGTQ Chamber of Commerce, feel free to join us as well. And it's going to be at the Echo House Restaurant in Rockville. So look out for that. Also, we have a meeting coming up with the Montgomery County Black Collective. If you're not familiar with that organization, it's a dynamic organization, works really close with the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. But those are some influential individuals in the county that came together and decided that they're going to work together on an agenda for the Black community in the county of Montgomery. And then also, that's going to be on October 12th. We have a flyer for that. So you could register for there, and we'll send that in. We'll put that in the chat so you guys could attend that as well. And then lastly, we don't have a flyer for this, but please save the date. I don't believe we have a flyer for this one, for our annual meeting, the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce annual meeting. This is usually a chance where you get to meet all of the members, meet all the leadership, talk about the exciting things we've done for the year, and also talk about what's coming up in the next year. It's always a really good meeting, always really meet great people. If you're a new member to the chamber, or you've been in the chamber for a while, or you're looking to get more active, this is really a good event to attend and really make some connections. And I've been getting some messages from people who want to get more involved with the chamber. And I would say the best way to do that is just to come out to some of these events and meet people. You know, we're always encouraging and providing people the space to get active and get involved. Okay, so we took care of that. Just doing a quick check. Is Mike in here with us? Okay, Mike, if you're here, just give me a quick shout. So one, let's go with our first poll, Melissa. I always like to, see who's in our Zoom meeting, who's in our meet and greet. I mean, a meetup. So let's launch the first poll. I think it is, we want to see who's a member. Okay.
Yeah.
I never get to participate in the poll. Is the poll live now?
Was.
It was, I just voted.
Yes.
Oh man, I never get to participate in the poll. Sorry about that. I never get to participate in the poll. Okay, so how many do we have? What does it look like? How many people do we have that are members? What's the
It's
percentage?
about 50-50.
Okay, so that means half of us are not members. So I would say go ahead and join. Most of the people that we're partnering with and who presenting to us are members of the chamber, and they're bringing their value to our membership. So, you know, we're going to be adding more and more value to our members. So I think now is a great time to become a member. So I just also want to take some time to thank our sponsors. Of course, I want to thank Montgomery County for their support. If there's anybody from other counties you guys want to get on board, Montgomery County, I would say, is providing a lot of support to us right now. And we want to thank them for supporting Black businesses. Sandy Spring Bank, always a big supporter of us. And then I want to thank some of the sponsors that are actually presenting today. So Gold Law Firm, Nancy Alert and Associates, Wolf Corp Training Academy, the agency, Hudson Benefits Consulting, Legacy Empowerment Group, and Butler Squared Consulting. So those are our sponsors. Really thank you. We wouldn't be able to bring this value to our members if it wasn't for your support. Okay, let's go one more poll. So this event is about, we're talking about estate planning. So we want to find out, what do you hope to get from this event? It helps us and our presenters know like where to focus their attention, you know, whatever the audience is hoping to get. So what do you hope to get from this event? Do you just want to learn about the estate planning process? You want to know what the services necessary in the estate planning process? Courts related to the probate and the guardianship process, or probate and avoiding probate? So I just want to learn about the estate planning process in general. I'll be honest, this is an area that I've always heard about. I'm interested really to learn more about it. So I'm gonna be paying attention today. Okay. Again, I can't participate in the poll. I feel left out. Okay, can you share with us, Melissa, what the poll results
Maybe
are?
next time, Nelson.
What are
Right.
the results?
So 47% want to learn about the estate planning process, 21% services necessary in estate planning, 21% probate and avoiding probate, 42% all of the above.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna definitely get into that. So we have our guest speaker today first. We usually start with a guest speaker and then we have a panel discussion with everyone. And she's also has her own show called The Alert Factor. She's a real estate broker. So if you're here you need to be alert, no pun intended, but that Nancy Alert. And you know, when we first started the financial services affinity group, and we were talking about estate planning, you know, she was sharing a lot of stories of why this is important. So I wanted to introduce Nancy. Nancy is going to talk to us about the probate process and some advice from a real estate broker's perspective of some of the things she's seen. So Nancy, pleasure for you to join us. And I've been waiting to hear from you. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about the probate process?
All right. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I am Nancy Allard. I'm a real estate broker. I'm licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. I'm affiliated with RE/MAX Allegiance. And I have 26 years of selling, investing, and consulting on real estate. And what I do is I show people how to create true generational wealth, how to keep what you make and how to multiply it by acquiring multi-units. And what does this have to do with estate planning? Well, when you inherit a property or someone willed you a property or you got a property that you did not purchase for yourself and someone has passed and you're the next in line or what have you for that property, you have to do some things. Otherwise, you can actually lose that property. And the reason I decided to have a little talk about this today, because of course you'll hear from the attorneys on the legal end of it, is through my experiences personally and through my business experiences. So I have a trust and all of the properties owned is in the trust. And the reason for that is, and because they're in different states, is to prevent probate. You don't want probate. You want to stay away from probate, right? However, if you have to do probate, you need to know that that is something that has to be done. If someone passes and they leave you a property, it has to go through probate. If, let's say, your parent passed and they did not named you as the person of the property has to go through probate. And that means that one client, his mom actually willed him the property. She willed him the property in her will. She was the last surviving member. But what he did not realize was his mom and dad owned the property with his aunt and uncle. And they owned the property since 1940 or what have you. And the aunt and uncle passed, which everyone thought it all went to his mom and dad. And then his dad passed, and then his mom passed last. So he's like, yeah, I have a property. I'm putting it on the market for sale. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do. He showed me his paperwork and we put it on the market for sale. And then when we got to the title company, we found out, we got an offer and everything. We found out, oh, they did not own the property like tenants by the entirety, meaning that the husband and wife did, which means the aunt and uncle, if the aunt died, the uncle owned it. If the uncle died, the aunt owned the half of the property, and his parents owned half of the property. So we had to literally put advertisements in the paper and look for the heirs of his aunt and uncle, because we could not sell the property until we found the heirs, because his mom and dad did not own the whole property. They owned half of the property. He was a little salty, but I mean, that's what he had to do.
So probate, like just before you go, just because if anyone's like me, when you talk about probate, like that, what does that actually mean? Does that mean, what does that mean? Like when you say probate, when something's in probate, and is that a good thing? Is that a bad, like, you know what I mean? What is that?
Well, people look at it like a bad word, but it's something that has to be done if you haven't set up your things correctly, or just that's the way it has to be done for that specific property. You register with the court when someone has passed. You provide the information that you are the heir, and you register with the court. You get a probate attorney, or you can do it yourself. I say, don't do it yourself. You're not an attorney. I know you can read, but this is not something most people should do by themselves. This is not where you save money. This is not where you save money. I know everybody wants to save money, but this is not where you save money. And especially, you just inherited a property, you can spend a couple of dollars to make sure you do it the right way. And if he had done that, we would not have been in the situation we were in. So you have to file it with the court, and they have to make sure that everything is in line, right? If their properties, like in this instance where his mom owned half of the property, so he's only entitled to half of the property. But one of the great things about this situation was he also was entitled to a portion of the other half because he was an heir, because it was his aunt and uncle. So Yeah.
So it
it
actually worked out more in his favor.
It
So
worked out
probate
great
may not
because he-
necessarily be a bad thing in every
Right.
situation.
Right,
Gotcha.
so in this situation, he received a half plus a third of the other half, because we found 3 other heirs of the property. And so and it worked out even more fantastic for them, because we had to take the property off the market and we had to find those heirs. And fortunately, he knew who they were. So it was easy. We sent out the information, and then when we put the property back on the market, we got $150,000 more than we were getting before. So they got more money to divide. So it is very important that if you are willed a property, you open the probate process, and then you will be told whether or not you need to go through that process. But you cannot sell the property. You cannot sell the property without going through that process. Now, if you're in a trust or something like that, that's a different story. And like I said, Shakira will talk about that later. But it is very important. The first thing you do when you inherited a property is to start the probate process and have an evaluation by a actual appraiser on the property, so that they know where you can start the actual value for the probate court, the actual value of the property when you inherited it versus what it is valued now. It might be different, and that's based on taxes and all of that you would have to pay. So this is very important. If you don't know, and you hire a realtor and they don't know that these are the questions you're supposed to ask, because now, whenever one thing happens, you start adding new paper to your paperwork. So now anyone comes to me and say, oh, I inherited this property, that's a different questions we're asking you. Did you open probate? Did you do the valuation of the property? Are there any other heirs? Are you the only one? These are the questions you ask before you get started. So you're not waiting. Like one client, his mom left the property to him, but he still had to do probate because, again, he's her only child. But they did not do a will or anything like that. So he didn't understand you have to open probate, and he was fighting us with it. And finally we were like, okay, well, whatever you say, you know best. And then we went to, got an offer, submitted the contract, and the title company said, you have to open probate. Then he decided he was going to do it himself. That took a whole year because he did not know what he was doing. I even said, look, I am going to pay for the attorney, and you can pay me back when you sell the home. If you don't have the funds now, you need an attorney. I could do this. I could read. Okay. We're still waiting for that process. And that was in 2020. We're still waiting for that property to be sold. The last I saw, it's delinquent and probably about to go to foreclosure. I think it's disrespectful on many levels. If someone worked hard for years and left you a property,
Gotcha.
and you let it go to foreclosure.
Gotcha.
And you let it go to foreclosure because you don't know the process, or you are not asking the questions that will help you to get to that end. So it is very important, first, to set up your estate correctly, and Shakira will tell you how to do that. Second, if you did not do that, or you just inherited, or you have a friend that inherited a property, or a family member that inherited a property, let them know. You contact an estate attorney or a probate attorney, and then you contact a realtor, or you contact a realtor that is familiar with the process. Because if the realtor is not familiar with the process, then you're going to end up through the motions again and not getting to the finish line. And if your property is in DC and it is vacant because you just inherited it and it is vacant, and especially if it's a blight property, meaning that it is in disrepair, they almost quadruple, well, not quadruple, it's more than quadruple your taxes. For example, the gentleman that his aunt and uncle owned the property with his mom and dad, the property was vacant for years and it was really disheveled. And because it was a vacant property, their taxes, and contact DC to verify, was $37,000
Wow.
a year, plus the infractions, the fines for it being a blight property. So when I came in, I had to go to DCRA literally every day for 2 weeks to speak to someone, to show them that this is an estate sale. Here's the listing. You have to show them the listing agreement. So if you haven't opened probate, but at least you had a listing agreement, then they go back to that date. I saved them $57,000 in taxes. He had to pay the $128,000 because I was able to show them when we signed the listing agreement, when probate was open. So then they removed the excessive taxes. So these are all things that you would think, well, what does that have to do with a realtor? Because at the end of the day, it's coming to us for us to sell it. So we need to familiarize ourselves with these types of things so that we can better serve you. So if you didn't do it at the beginning with the attorney, you have to make sure you find a knowledgeable, I like to call it investor friendly, probate friendly realtor, meaning that those realtors are familiar with the process and can help you through it. So
Well, let me
that's
ask you a question.
Mhm.
How much more? So if you're, if you're on this Zoom and or in this meeting, and you say you want to be in real estate investing, or you're a real estate investor, and you're not seriously considering estate planning process, like how much more is it? Are you putting yourself in more danger or jeopardy to be, doing multiple real estate transactions or higher risk transactions and not thinking about this process?
Well, first, yes. So here's the thing. You and your heirs, right? Because you are working hard to create this wealth, so that your family does not have to worry about finances for the rest of their lives. And you're doing your part. But remember, your part is not just the acquisition of the property. Your part is the protection of the value, protection of your asset, so that when you pass it on to your family, they're not giving 50% of it to IRS, or they're not going through all this extra process in order to get to what you left them. So if you are a new investor, seasoned investor, start it right. Whether you have an LLC, make sure your properties are titled correctly, make sure that you have a will, but more importantly, make sure you have a trust. Make sure you have a trust, whether it's a revocable or irrevocable. I'll leave that to the attorneys to explain that to you, but make sure that that's what you do in order for you to protect it. If you're looking to truly protect your stuff, that's what the Rockefellers do. They all had trust for everything. So I think somebody said, own nothing but control everything, right? So nobody can come at you if you owe people to get to your properties, get to your money, get to the wealth you're building for your clients. So yeah, you have to start. I always tell people it's like building a house, because I always bring it back to a house because I'm a realtor. It's like building, it's like building a house. If you build it on sand, it will fall. If you build it on concrete, it'll stand strong, right? So get the attorney at the beginning of your investing career. I know everyone thinks they can do it themselves. They can go on Zoom or wherever and find this lawyer, blah, blah. No, pay the fee now for one attorney, or pay 20 later on to fix the mess you create now.
That's so smart advice.
Mhm.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy. She's going to be in our panel, and we're going to have a little bit more conversation around this. First, let me just introduce you, have our guests introduce themselves. So we got Marie Wolf. She's a estate planning and business consultant. Shakira Gold Ramirez. She's an estate planning attorney. We got Brandy Bridget. She's a life insurance and financial service broker. And then we also have Professor Donald Butler, CPA and auditor. So we're going to get a whole bunch of different angles about this important part of financial planning or financial services around estate planning. So I want to have everyone just go around, introduce themselves, give us a quick introduction, just so we can get to know you on a personal level and what it is that you specialize in doing. Marie, why don't we start? She's also one of our leaders on the financial services affinity group. So Marie, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us all a little bit about you?
Hello, everyone. As Nelson mentioned, I'm Marie Wolf. I'm the owner of Wolf Core and Wolf Core Training Academy. I'm also a legal consultant, mediator, and trainer. I hold behind me 20 years of legal experience, 15 years of estate planning and probate. And today I hope that we'll be able to enlighten you on the process to make things a little easier for you in your life.
Awesome, awesome. And then we also have an attorney, Shakira Gold Ramirez. She's an estate planning attorney. Shakira, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is the services you offer?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Shakira Gold Ramirez, and I own Gold Law Firm. It is a full-service estate planning firm. Serve also clients in New Jersey and New York, as well as the DMV area. We are, like I said, a full-service estate planning law firm. We also do elder care, but our specialty is on business owners and helping keep people out of court and conflict. Because one thing I've realized over the years is that business owners, they're so focused on running their business that they forget to protect it at the time if they're passing or if they get sick or incapacitated. So I hope everyone enjoys today's presentation and asks good questions.
Right. I think that's a huge part that a lot of us, we start a business and we don't even think about 5-10 years down the line. So that's going to be interesting. Next, we got another member, leader of our financial services affinity group, Brandy Bridget. Brandy, we've met you before, but why don't you tell us a little bit more for those who haven't met you in our previous meetups?
Absolutely. Thanks, Nelson. Hello, everybody. Name is Brandy Bridget, founder of the agency down here at National Harbor, where we're a full service financial firm. And as it comes to today, my job is to help people move money along to help avoid that probate portion. So talking about the life insurance, talking about the beneficiaries, understanding how to partner with the individuals on this call today to move that money into trusts when it's needed. When we're talking from a business perspective, understanding the key person insurance, the buy-sell agreements if you have partnerships, how to make those transitions effective to mitigate any outside legal activity that's needed. So in conjunction with that, my job is to show people how to create the 3 buckets of money. Tax, understanding your tax-free, but I leave that to our tax professionals on the call, understanding your tax deferred and how to really maximize or leverage that, but most importantly, how to create an unlimited source of tax-free income. So that's me.
Thanks, Brandy. And then definitely we need to hear from the CPA side of it. We have Professor Donald Butler. Professor Butler, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Thank
Tell
you
us a
so
little bit
much.
about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm the owner of Butler Square Consulting. I'm also a professor for University of Maryland Global Campus, where I teach accounting. And we help our clients pretty much working with their books, helping them to track their income and their expenses and balance sheets, as well as helping them do tax planning and strategy. We also do business consulting, and that's pretty much what we do. Ultimately, we help you save money in taxes. So anyone that's interested to saving money in taxes and dealing with someone that's not afraid to deal with the IRS, that's our team. And so we're definitely looking forward to assisting anyone that has any questions here.
All right, awesome. So, well, let's just get right in. Let's talk about, we always ask, the advice that you give if someone in the estate plan. Well, before we go there, Marie, let's talk with you. I just want to ask you, what kind of give us an overview of what's estate planning? I know we hear this, you kind of see the memes online and thing about if you follow any financial person on social media, but what is estate planning in general?
Well, that's the key thing too. So before anyone can even move forward in the process is knowing about the planning and what it is. So as most people don't know, estate planning is determining an individual or business assets and how they're managed and distributed after death. So basically, it kind of entails how things would be distributed if someone passes away. And it protects them if they have a business as well. And sometimes, which Shakira will talk about more in terms of trust, will also help you to secure your business. So most of the people, when they think about that, they don't understand that it's also utilized in the event that if someone becomes incapacitated.
She must be getting a phone call. Am I hearing it? Is it me freezing, or I think she just froze up? I think she
So-
just froze. Oh, there she.
Nelson?
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit there. You might have got a phone call.
Okay, so no, but we're good. So as many of us know, when COVID hit, we weren't prepared for it. Families didn't know what to do. And me in particular, I use myself as an example. A family member of mine became ill. Because that family member was over the age of 18, me even being that person's mother, they would not give me information. But in preparation for things in the past, I had what they called a healthcare directive, which is also known as a healthcare proxy. So if you have anyone in your family, a child, family member that's 18 years of older, they may not be able to speak for themselves. And I know they say 18, that's so young to start, but it really is not. It gives you the opportunity to be able to speak for themselves, for them in the event they can't. So the healthcare proxy in itself is similar to what they call as a living will or an advanced medical directive, but it's not as detailed. With the healthcare proxy, it's a short, simplified form that you can have filled out that basically gives you the ability to, provide it to a healthcare provider or hospital in the event someone's in an accident and they can't speak for themselves. And it gives you the ability to tell them different things. With my son, they didn't know the allergies, what he was allergic to. They didn't know the preference. They didn't know anything about him. So therefore, they could have been giving him a medication or anesthesia that he may have been, allergic to. And this is how most people lose their lives, because the hospital, that's their responsibility at all times to make sure they do what's possible and that they, within their means to keep you alive. And sometimes in doing so, people lose their lives because they really don't know what someone may or may not be allergic to. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, that's good. That's good. So we're going to talk a little bit more about estate planning, and we're going to hear from Shakira. So, again, now this is new to me. I've heard about it, but I want, there's a little bit more that I think we can go into about as far as like, what's the important aspects when you talk about probate, right? I always hear you guys talk about probate. From an estate planning attorney standpoint, like talk about it from a personal and business side. Because, I get the business side of it, but Marie just talked about from a health side, with a child, that there's obviously personal matters that you have to consider as well. But talk about what is the most importance of bypassing the probate process when you start thinking about estate planning?
Well, the most important process of bypassing the probate process is bypassing that process. And the way to bypass it is to have a full encompassing estate plan established during your life. That estate plan should include a will, power of attorney, healthcare directive, they may call it living will. And we've heard Nancy earlier talk about a trust. The trust she's referring to is a revocable living trust. What that means is that it's a trust established while you are alive and you can make changes to it. I always equate it to the little red wagons that people would carry as a kid, and they would pour all of their toys into it and carry it down, the neighborhood to their friends. You would pour all of your assets into that. That way, at the time of your passing, whomever you have set up as your trustee will pick up the handle of that little red wagon and carry out your wishes. That is probably one of the most pivotal things that a person can do, is to establish that revocable living trust while you're alive. Because at the time of your death, it becomes irrevocable, which means that it can't be changed, and whomever you've named as your trustee has to carry out your wishes. That's also important when it comes to owning property and a business. We'll take the property aspect of it. If you own a home or multiple homes, if you're so lucky, those homes are also placed in that revocable living trust so that your heirs do not have to go through the probate process. Because one thing that we've all talked about consistently this morning, and I don't know if the other participants have caught on to it, is taxes. You know, it costs a lot to live. It costs even more when you die and you don't have the proper planning in place. I always tell people Uncle Sam is just waiting in the background with his hands out, just waiting to see how much money he's going to collect. But the goal is, if you are reaching out to the correct people and getting your affairs in order, there is a way to alleviate that probate process, and also to cut down on Uncle Sam receiving in excess of tax, because there is, depending on what state you are in, there is what is called a death tax. And yes, you do pay taxes when you die. As
So
far
if
as
you-
this, go ahead.
So if you don't have a trust in place, that's when the process takes you into probate. And it seems like the probate process is kind of the courts trying to figure out who owns what. Is that correct?
That's correct. So there's also a huge misconception too, that if you have a will, that is all that you need. I always tell people that where there is a will, there is a guaranteed probate, meaning that that will has to still get filed at the court. The only thing that's different between having that will and not having it is that the will tell the court who you wanted to get what out of your estate. Another thing about just having the will is that it is also public. So at the time that will is filed, if people are nosy enough and they would like to pay the court a small fee to view the will, depending on what county, they can do so and see who inherited what and in what amounts. And there are people that, you know, I guess they have a lot of time on their hands, do that because they like to scam, unfortunately, senior citizens and, you know, minors and things of that nature. So for me, the overall goal of estate planning, yes, you want to build your you know, maintain your legacy and your wealth, but there's also different aspects of it as far as taxes. And for business owners, the important aspect is making sure your business is protected in a way that when you are no longer here physically, or if you're incapacitated, that there is someone legally that can step in and continue to run your business. That is one of the biggest things that I've seen and I experienced during the pandemic, was that business owners, you know, had these very successful businesses. They poured blood, sweat, and tears into it. Many of us can relate. They became sick, unfortunately, with COVID or passed away. And so did the business, because they did not have a person in place through an estate plan or any other legal means to continue the business. And that's detrimental not only for that family's legacy, but for the employees as well, because not only is the business now out, but the employees, they no longer have a job as well.
Okay. So, all right. So that's really important. So Brandy, I know you're in the financial services industry. And when you talk about estate planning, how does life insurance, annuities, how does that play from a financial planner standpoint? How does that play into estate planning?
Well, I definitely work in tandem with the individuals who have just previously spoken. I'll give you an example. A young lady came into my office about 2 years ago. She was at retirement age, so she was eligible to move her retirement out into an annuity. And that's what we did because she didn't want to lose any more funds. When we moved it out into an annuity, we had a serious conversation with her. We said, you know, at the time, who are you appointing if something were to happen to you? Your husband's already gone. You never had any children. Who are you electing to be your beneficiaries of this money? That young lady then elected her sister-in-law, and her sister-in-law had no idea. We also had no idea that this young lady was a cancer survivor. And so the cancer came back, and within 10 months of her opening up this annuity, unfortunately, she passed away. And so we had the contact information of the sister-in-law. We contacted her, and we found out that this sister-in-law lives way, way down in Virginia in a very small rural town and is a medical assistant, but has taken on and adopted 5 children from the ages of 16 to 4 in her family due to the fact that someone was incapacitated to be able to take care of them. And so she's been struggling. They had a home. She had no idea how she was going to really truly make it through. Her husband had a very small policy. And we were able to transfer these funds to this young lady without having the probate of this portion of things go through, right? So she was the beneficiary of this. She was able to get a check quick, fast, and in a hurry. And that's because there was the beneficiary aspect listed on these policies. So, you know, now she was able to take that money and we were able to redirect it and now make an annuity for herself. So now she has a stream of money that's going to come to her during retirement time. We also took a small portion of that money, and for each child, we set up life insurance policies to that the main goal was to start creating funds for college. And so now she's the owner and the payor of those policies. And so now, you know, she has control over those entities. Then we unfortunately had to go into probate because, like Shakira said, when there's just a will, there's a way for Uncle Sam to always try to get in the mix. And so there was a property here in DC that we had to go through the probate process, and it is not a fun one. And that is because our client, you know, thought a will was just it. So we had to go and uncover tons of different things about her deceased spouse and herself and the property. And it was just so much uncovering that had to happen. But if we didn't have the insurance in place, imagine this young lady over a year and some change still waiting for some type of monetary influx. But because these insurance policies and these annuities were in place, we were able to bypass those opportunities because she was in direct alignment for that, and just had to worry about the taxes that go on with the tax deferred money qualified into these plans. But on the insurance side of things, she was inherited the life insurance policy that the young lady had put on herself. So that money came to her tax free. And so now she was able to separate those buckets, be able to take care of Uncle Sam, but still take care of these kids and create that dynastic wealth. And so now we're talking to her in regards to, okay, now you come into this influx. Now the cycle continues. You've got to make sure you have all your ducks in row. And now, because you're a foster parent, it's even more important because you're the only one left, that those that you are assigning to the children have all their ducks in a row. And we've got to make sure everyone is protected. So the insurance aspect of it from a personal standpoint is super duper important because that allows a quick transfer of liquidity because a lot of us just don't have it. So we were able to pay for her funeral services and everything. But then from a business component, that's super important because if you have a partner in business and you have all of the legal aspects put together, having that buy-sell agreement with each other, having that key person insurance policies on each other. If something were to happen, we've got to, you know, Marie mentioned getting sick. It's not just about death, you guys. It's about being incapacitated in any kind of way that they are not able to fully execute their opportunities in the business. So, you know, people don't even realize that insurance, some types of insurance have these things called living benefits. So if you become chronic or terminally ill, or even critically injured, that death benefit, that number that we try to get as large as we possibly can, then double activates as cash that you can use while you're living. So if someone is in the hospital and they need their medical directive or someone to take care of them, and they're incapacitated to the point where they can't take care of in the business, because you are these insurance policies have been put into play. Now you, as the partner in the business, depending on how we put these things together, can now insert a claim. So the influx of liquidity still happens in these business opportunities. So insurance, accounting, bookkeeping, estate planning, all how your business is formatted is all a key integral part, and we all have to bring all those pieces to the table.
Oh man, that's that's a lot, you know. But it sounds like, you know, you can't afford to not take this process seriously, because in the scenario you gave, with her, everything she was managing, if she had to now find the money to clean everything up, it's a heavy burden to bear, especially when you're taking care of a family. Professor Butler, I know everyone is afraid of Uncle Sam, and you said you're not afraid to take your clients take Uncle Sam on for your clients. Can you talk a little bit about taxes, probate, and your estate planning process? And tell us some of the things you've seen with your clients on how taxes can affect someone's estate and their business.
Well, I would say because of my background, my experience as an auditor, as a professor, there's so much details in this that literally what we're sharing today is just a small nugget of what's involved. And that's why it does take, several professionals, especially your financial advisor, your attorneys, your accountant, to be all involved, your family involved in the process, because there's so many things that's involved in the whole planning piece of it. And everyone plays a significant role, really, when it comes down to it. But I'll get into really more of the tax perspective of it, where some, it's beneficial to definitely have a trust set up, because you can really direct how you want to transition your assets. And that's really what it gets down into, because when you have a trust, you can, your trust basically becomes your estate. And how much is in that estate determines what your tax liability is. And someone could say, I have a tax liability even if I die. Yes, you have a tax liability even if you die. So there's a federal estate tax. And federal estate tax is a death tax that's imposed on the fair market value of the taxable assets, besides the liability. So you take away liabilities, and so whatever is owned at death. So someone could say, well, my house is worth, $400,000. What that would be considered was a part of the fair market value, a part of your estate. And then you have taxes or taxable assets, like your home, for example. Your life insurance policy is a part of your taxable assets. And any property that's jointly owned, or however it's owned, this is why estate planning is very much important. And that's why I said it gets into a lot of details, because when we think about what our assets are, if you go around your house and do inventory, which I'm sure a lot of people have a challenge with, because you're trying to figure out what should I include in, my estate planning. And that's why an estate planner like Marie Wolf and Shakira will be very beneficial to helping you identify what those assets are. Because when you put all of that stuff inside of your estate, it becomes what would be subject to taxes. There's also gift tax, and many people talked about gift taxes in the past few years. I recall having many conversations, and people will say, I'm exempt from federal income taxes if I gift up to $15,000, which is very true. But the lifetime gift income tax has exceeded, is at $12 million right now. I'm giving you the overall number, but it's like $12 million right now, and for 2022. So what does that mean? So over your lifetime, if you give someone $12 million, you're exempt from federal income tax. And anything that's above the 12 million, and someone would say, well, I wish I even had $1 million, but anything that's above the 12 million would technically be taxed at a certain income tax rate from 18% to 40%. And 40% is the top number, or the top percent that gift tax would be, or the gift would be taxed. And so there's different things. And then also, so that's the federal side. Then you have the state side, state inheritance tax. Maryland happens to be one of the states that impose a state inheritance tax. There's only 6 states that do it, but basically the inheritance tax is something that, that basically the state wants to tax you based on the estate. Let me give you some details here about that. I want to make sure I'm giving you exactly. So the way that state income tax is handled is whatever that is passed to the loved one or whoever that is a part of, that's in your tax planning or your estate planning, then whatever is being handed over, that will be subject to taxes. And so you have your federal income tax and your state inheritance tax, and that basically you want to make sure that all of that information, all of those assets that's being taxed, you have a plan in place to do that. But without having a trust or having it proper estate planning, you're gonna, your assets will be, handed over to probate. That's the discussion that we're having today. Like, what's the benefits? So the benefit is having a trust and putting, making sure to manage that estate properly so that you can reduce your taxable income or taxable rate concerning that transfer. So again, a lot of details, but I'm trying to give you kind of like the high level of how that works.
Yeah, I know it's probably a lot of details, which is what I'm hearing is that you just kind of want to start building out a team. If you're a business owner, or even if you're not a business owner, these are some of the people you want on your team when you're thinking about generational, or like Brandy called it, dynastic wealth. We can't have that conversation without having these people on our team. Dr. Butler, let me ask you this, right? So if you have someone who doesn't have a trust and hasn't done estate planning, and someone who does, real quick on a high level overview, and then something happens, they pass away. Outside of even just the probate process, is there a tax consequence with each? Do you avoid some taxes by keeping your assets in a trust? How does that work?
You do, and there's more power in terms of how much authority you have over your trust versus you don't have a trust set up and is being, forwarded to probate, or it goes into probate. When it's in probate, I'm not the attorney, but I'll just say this, that really your family don't have any control of how those assets will be divvied up. You can't even occupy the residence. So when we're thinking about like real estate, you can't even occupy the residence until that's situated. And that can take some time. But when you have a trust set up, you avoid probate, you have more authority over what's being handed down, and also the tax benefits of it. So, if we're to decide if you should have a trust, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that we're missing, when we think about, our community, when we think about African Americans, Black and brown, is like that's one of the things that I would say is the common thing we're missing. And also the common thing that's missing is making sure to have that attorney, making sure to have the accountant on your side to help you to identify how this works. Because we're not just talking about your house. We're not just talking about your life insurance policy. We're also talking about your business and how your business can be set up properly. Your 401k, your IRA, there's different things that are in that bucket of what should be managed under that trust, because all of those things are subject to taxes. And when someone dies, they have up to 9 months, whoever's the executor, to file your taxes. And if anything, it's more like, well, somebody could say, well, I don't want them to have my things when I'm gone. Well, somebody's going to have it. So having the proper planning in place is very beneficial. And, so that's, why it's very beneficial to have the trust set up versus just saying, hey, I'll just work on that when, let somebody else deal with that when I'm gone. So that's very important.
That makes a lot of sense. Shakira, I had, one of my favorite saying is, I say this to my children all the time, is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The second best time to plant a tree is right now. So if you're a business owner, or you're not a business owner, but you have all these assets, you've been doing successful in business, and you haven't gone through that process, is it too late? Are you kind of like, putting behind the 8 ball, so to speak?
I'll say it's never too late. Too late is when you're gone and your family's left to clean up the mess that's left behind. And I call it a mess because that's usually what it is. If a person is in just the thinking stage of starting the business, that is an excellent time to get a team together, someone to help you with your LLC, your estate planning, your accounting, your taxes. That's a great time. That way, everything is set up in the beginning with a strong foundation. If you've already been in business some years, that's also still a good time. There's always a good time to start. And I always tell business owners, regardless of how long you've been in business, there's still some work to be done, not just on the business, but on your wealth building and your estate planning side. Especially when you're looking at business owners who have formed their LLC. Those formation documents are so critical when we're looking at doing estate planning for business owners. For example, if you have an LLC that's a multi-member LLC, as an estate planning attorney, I always ask to see the operating agreement. How is this business set up? And is it set up in a way where if one of the members passes away, that their side automatically goes to the other members, or can a family member step in and take that person's place? That operating agreement is pretty much dictates how that business will operate at the time of that LLC member's death. So no, there's never a time that's too late. except for when unfortunately the person's no longer here to make the planning for themselves.
One more question, right? Because I think people are intimidated out of that process. If you're in a business and now you have to go to a lawyer to kind of figure out it, I think our community is usually intimidated by that process, but could you like demystify some of that, like why it's important to seek the counsel of an attorney, especially if you have business partners? Why is that important? Why shouldn't you like be scared of going to an attorney if you have business partners to deal with stuff like estate planning?
Well, I can understand the fear, because no one really, sometimes people equate going to an attorney as a bad thing. But as Nancy
Mhm.
said earlier, if you build a house on sand, it's going to fall. Going to that attorney to look at those documents to make sure that the foundation that business is built on is not only solid, but it's going to have longevity to it. And especially when you're looking, like I said earlier, at multi-member LLCs, there's a huge misconception among business owners that their children, their wife, siblings can just step in the role of them and then run that business. And that's usually not the case. And if that is the case, that wife, sibling, or child may not want that role, or the other members may not want to work with that spouse or the children or whomever. So I understand the hesitancy to go to an attorney or even, someone like Marie, but it is a necessity, especially if that business owner's goal is to have that business grow and to create lifelong legacy.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we talked about, I think another thing that usually our community is intimidated by. You hear these things like you have a trust or an estate. The first thing that comes to mind is you got to be super wealthy. So, Brandy, I wanted you to like talk a little bit about why that is that necessarily the case? Do you only work with people? I don't know, wealthy is relative, but I think people say, well, when I get to a certain point, then I can deal with that. But again, when is a good time, or what do your assets need to look like to start thinking about these things?
If I had a penny for every time someone says, I'll get with you when I blank, 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 I'd be wealthy, filthy rich right at this point, because that's everyone's mindset. When they hear you're an attorney or something in finances, they're like, wait, I'll get back to you on that once I've hit X, Y, and Z. And we need to be very cognizant that time is of the essence. We are not promised tomorrow. People are passing away, unfortunately. I hate to go here, but left and right in their 50s and in their 40s and in their 30s. This is not an uncommon situation in today's world. And so we need to talk to individuals now, right? If my man Tyler Perry had waited to talk to someone when he was a billionaire, would he ever have been there? No, he was homeless, living in a car, but understood financially, I know where I want to go. I need to get with someone who can help me from every step of the way. Once I've made 10,000, 20,000, 200,000 to keep prospering, right? Because we can make financial decisions and it could be one small decision that sets us back for 10 or 15 years. Let's just be honest. America is full of those, I think I know it, and so I'm just going to try it and see if it works type situations. And, there's only but so many times you could throw something up against the wall to see if it sticks when it's in your financial situation. And if you knew how to be a billionaire, you'd be there by now, right? It's our jobs as subject matter experts to help you understand and navigate those roads. That's why Nancy's client's still out there with their probate situation, because he think he knew it all, right? He made all these mistakes. He probably has lost more than what he would have paid an attorney to just get it done. And so many times we look at the cost up front, but we don't look at the value opportunity that lies within it. That's why I tell people, when you look at insurance, that's no longer a bill. It is a necessity. It is a part of life. It is a honestly, it's a privilege because you just have no idea how many people are not able to get qualified for insurance. And this is one of the main ways in our nation that you can actually, you and Uncle Sam can have a lovely relationship because of the rule 7702. He's saying, you know, I'm gonna let that slide. I'm gonna let that money over there pass, right? But it is because of your wealth and your health, even if to have the privilege to have something like that. People don't realize they get policies all the time and they let them lapse. Well, that goes on your record. And so now insurance companies are looking at you like, I don't know if I trust you because you look a little shady. So now you're trying to get key person insurance, or you're trying to protect your family now that you've grown up and have assets that you're looking to protect. I don't know if I want you. And so we have to start instilling in people, if you got 20 cents, that's 20 cents more than some other people. It's time to protect yourself and protect yourself now. That's
Yeah, I
my
think we
soapbox,
can't
and I'm
keep
sticking to
on.
it.
No, that's spot on, because I think we can't keep on kicking the can down the street, right? At some
Mm-mm.
point, tomorrow has to turn into today. And we got to get out of the mindset of stop cutting corners, right? If you want to cut costs, that's one thing, but stop cutting corners. Just do things the right way. You know, Shakira mentioned something about setting up your business, and I know Marie, you do a lot of work with business owners as in the initial process as far as setting up your business. Can you talk about business formation and and how that melts with the estate planning process?
Of course. So as Shakira mentioned, it's essential for every business owner to have a proper operating agreement. That operating agreement and how it's drafted will be the difference between whether or not a trust can be associated with it, the protection of the estate. But I want to also talk about a couple of things too, Nelson, that may have to do with business as well as the personal side. There are three
Okay.
different things that have to be noted within the estate planning and probate process. Whenever you have a will formally completed, you have to register it in your county with the Register of Wills. It's a very
She's going to come back with this. Okay, well, I did want to ask, I wanted to talk about, and maybe Dr. Butler, you could help us with this, about the estate planning process. I think there's also the tendency to think it's like a one and done thing,
important
but
to
it
do.
sounds like that that's an ongoing process, right? Like you don't just do it one time. It's something you have to revisit. Is that the case? And when should you be talking to your accountant, your attorney? How often should you be talking to them about the estate planning process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Because some, like you said, some people think it's a one and done meeting or event, but really it's ongoing. When there's changes with legislation concerning taxes, you need to be aware how that could affect your estate. I'll give you an example, like with the recent Inflation Reduction Act, that has impacted small business owners in a major way. So if anything, it's more like, well, what do I need to be prepared for in the event that things change, or if they change legislation regarding retirement accounts, which has happened. That's why what Brandy does is help people to put their money in a bucket that's not going to be impacted by legislation changes. But all those different factors, you got to check in with your team and say, hey, what do I need to be concerned about? Because it's one thing, we check on our vacations, we're trying to book vacations and go on trips and, doing other things, going shopping, but it's another thing to take control over your money, your estate. And like you said, just looking at the fact that you don't have to be rich or wealthy to see that you have assets that are of value. And, all of us have something that's of value that we want to protect. And so it really starts with that basic conversation to get it started, and let's make it simple for you to help you to put things in place. But yeah, it's the ongoing conversation.
And it seems like that. Marie, you were talking about business formation, and then you were talking about 3 essential parts to the process. We
Yes,
lost you for a little bit.
thank you. Sorry about that with the connection. But yes, so the key things too, whenever anyone's providing, protection over their estate is to know exactly where to file it. You know, when you have had a will completed, the important thing in every county is to register your will with the Register of Wills. Now, the other thing is that unfortunately, when someone does go to move forward into the other life and it passes on, it's important to know how probate will affect you, whether they the person is filing for them on their behalf, whether it be by testate or intestate. Those things are very important, whether they had a will or didn't have a will. And the court that will govern them. So, of course, that
All right, looks like we lost her again. I don't want to run out of time.
Nelson,
Yeah, Nancy.
hey, I just had one quick statement and a
That name is
question for
kind of-
Shakira.
hmm
Is Marie speaking?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. We'll bring her back in.
So, and I'm not a big sports person, so I don't even know why I chose this analogy, but running your business, setting up your life, your estate, your probate, your everything is like having a football team, right?
Mhm,
Everyone has a position,
mhm.
right? Everyone, I'm not gonna call the positions because I don't know, like quarterback, fullback, whatever. But I thought about this and I'm like, everyone has a position and everybody is protecting one thing, right? That ball getting to the end zone, right? So think of the CPA, the business planner, the attorney, the life insurance. And even last year, a client that I sold 6 properties to called me up to tell me, she said, I'm not dying soon, but I put you in my will as my realtor. I was like, what? What?
So you could assign a realtor to your estate?
Yes. I was like,
Okay.
what? You talking about Charlotte? Her name is Charlotte. She actually called me up to ask me how to write it out about the commissions and all of that. She literally put me in there to sell her properties because she trusts me because I've sold her 6 properties. She sold 3 since and she has to. She made a lot of money and she wants the money to go to her heirs, but she wanted me to be a part of that. You are a team. You have to have a team insulating you. It's a team sport, right? You're in the middle and we're protecting you. We're protecting your money. We're protecting you. You can't have one without the other. You can't decide, I'm not going to need that part. I don't need the quarterback. I don't need the fullback. No, you need everyone to protect you, right? So get a team. Start a team. You don't have to have an expensive team, but start a team. Start with building your business right. Start with at least getting a will, then moved on to, you have to do that. My question to Shakira was, so, you know, Shakira is my attorney. She did my estate. She did my trust, my medical directives, all of that. But my question about recording in your will in the land records, because I had to redo mine because I moved from Virginia to Maryland.
Mhm.
And you know, every state is different. So let's say you recorded, but then, you know, like I'm looking to move back to Virginia right now, Shakira. Let's say you recorded in the land records and you moved to another state or some other things have changed, which is why you need to have a checkup once a year. Like Brandy always says, once a year, you should check up your life insurance to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing for you. So Shakira, if I register it with the wills and I move back to Virginia and then some things have changed, what happens? Because they're going to go with the will that's registered, right? Not.
So what will happen is I would hope that, of course, because you've worked with me, you and I will have chatted because I check in with everyone at least 6 months or once a year just to see what's going on or if there are any life changes. At that moment, when you tell me that you are thinking of moving, you and I would sit down, or me and whoever the client is, we would sit down to do either an update to that will to reflect anything that you needed changed. And then once you move, that new will get recorded in the state or the county, depending. But remember, every state and county operates differently.
Awesome.
And I think that that's something that's very important because I've had several clients over the past year that have moved from, you know, California or somewhere in the West Coast to the DMV area, and they've been here for 10 or 15 years. And the one thing they did not do was update their estate.
Okay.
And also they
Cool.
didn't fund. One other important thing we haven't talked about is the importance of funding your trust, which means, yes, your trust is established, but there are some steps that the person needs to do either at their bank, most likely at their bank or retirement accounts and things of that nature, which is to actually go to your bank to let them know that you've established a trust, to have your trust name placed on your checking, savings, and your accounts at the bank. Without that being done, you have a nice stack of papers.
Thank you for that reminder.
We just got
Yeah.
a chance to sit in on a estate planning session. Thanks, Nancy and Shakira. And shout out to Charlotte for assigning a real estate broker to her trust. So I mean, we're wrapping up, and one of the things we always do, and I'll start with you. Marie. What's the one piece of advice? And I know it's always hard to do that, but we've got a lot of information. That what's the one piece of advice you would give someone regarding estate planning? And then just tell us how can your services help others protect their wealth or their estate? Is Marie there?
Everybody, that there's no, yes, can you hear me?
No, go ahead.
Nelson? Okay,
Yeah.
yes. The key thing I would tell everybody, you know how we get creative when we say, I can do this myself, as many of the speakers have stated, and they want to go to LegalZoom or Legal Shield, and they want to download this one document that they think is going to be one stop fits all. It's not the case. They're pertinent language and information that's necessary to make sure that the estate is protected properly. There may be some parts that may be left out that has to do with the succession, which is something that I'm sure if we, we have a secondary, estate planning event, we could talk more about those things. But don't think ever that you can't call and ask for help. For example, you have legal consultants like me, you have attorneys like Shakira, you have many other people like Professor Butler and Brandy and Nancy that can talk to you more about the entire process. Create a team. Don't go into it thinking that you have to be alone. There's always someone in our professional field that will be willing to help. And especially being a part of the MBCC, I would recommend for everybody, please join. If you join, you will get a multitude of information and conditional education regarding many facets, even beyond estate planning, that will help you within your business and within your life. So that's just my part, and that I think is very important for you to do. Make sure to not move forward and thinking that Legal Shield, LegalZoom can really help. Have a consultation with a legal consultant. Foremost, have a consultation with the estate planning attorney, a tax professional, a financial advisor, and a real estate agent. Because believe me, as you move through any process, they're definitely going to be key to being a part of your team.
Awesome. Yeah, we covered a lot. So I know everyone's probably head is exploding with information. So I'm gonna take a quick opportunity to let you guys know we're gonna be doing more of these throughout the year, where we're gonna be able to do deeper dives on more specific topics around everything we've been talking about. So thanks for that reminder, Marie. Brandy, one piece of advice and how your firm could help.
Nancy said it earlier. If you have a policy, get it reviewed, right? As Dr. Butler was saying earlier, a lot of times we get these things and we just kind of set it and forget it and check it off the bucket list. But these are actively growing conversations that you need to have on an annual basis. Things change, laws change, policies become even better. They get upgraded like your iPhone, right? So every time, my word of thumb right now is every time you upgrade your phone, you need to be upgrading and making sure you've looked over your financial pieces of your puzzle, okay? So next time you upgrade everything.
Makes sense. That's really good advice, actually,
Yes.
because I think we think it's a one and done thing, but it's never over. You got to keep on. Just like you update your phone, update your life. I think that's what it is. Update your life. Put that on a t-shirt, right? Next, Dr. Butler, Professor Butler, one piece of advice and how Butler Squared could help them achieve that.
Listen, I mean, I can't be partial, but I am kind of partial because I'm an accountant. Everybody need an accountant. I don't care where what stage in life you're in, but you need an accountant at least to understand what your options are. So that's how we help our clients, and don't be intimidated by the cost. have the conversation and let's do an assessment to figure out where you are and what you need. Because with all the things that's going on with legislation and everything, you want to make sure if you have a business, you operate it as a business. Let's take your business seriously. Let's make sure you put it under trust. Let's make sure you manage your assets properly, because your business could be a multi-million-dollar business, but how would you know that unless you talk to the experts? So, yeah, definitely reach out to us and we'll definitely help you.
Thank you. Nancy, outside of hiring a real estate broker for your estate, what's one piece of advice that you would give and how your company could help?
So I would say if you're looking to create wealth, you're looking to protect what you already have for your family, you have to hire a team. You need a CPA or accountant to show you how to keep most of your money. You need a estate planner to show you how to avoid probate and how to avoid people attacking your money, or if you owe people, for them to get to your money. You need insurance, life insurance with living benefits to protect you or your business partner should something happen, so your business can continue to grow. What I will say is, as far as me, if you have real estate, I will show you how to leverage it so you can go to the next level, so you can scale. You can use your life insurance to buy real estate. You can use what you already have to buy real estate. It's all about leveraging. We need to learn the words collaboration and leverage, because it will take you where you want to go business-wise and personally.
I like that. I think we need to do a whole webinar on just that, collaboration and leverage. And last but certainly not least, Shakira, you provided a wealth of information to me personally. So I know it's hard to wrap it up in a nice little bow, but one piece of advice you would offer anyone who's listening right now, and how your company can help them achieve that goal.
Yes, I'm just going to echo what everyone else said, the importance of having a team. But yes,
Mhm.
having that team is important, but the key part of having that team is being open and transparent with that team. We can't help you and know how to help you unless you are open and transparent with us with your assets, your debts. I always tell people this is the one time you can walk into, an attorney's office or, a legal consultant's office, insurance office, and just lay it all out on the table. It's a no judgment zone. We just need to know what we're dealing with. That way we know how to help you. And as far as, how I can help and my business can help, this is what we do all day, every day. We're passionate about it. And I love when I get a phone call from a client saying, at the end of the process, that the amount of peace of mind they have at night when they go to sleep, knowing that not only is their family taken care of according to their wishes, but their business will be able to sustain their family, hopefully through generations, because of the documents that they have set up. And although the documents are just a byproduct, those documents provide a great sense of peace.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Thanks, I guess, so much. We're going to actually stick around for a little bit. How much time do we have? We have 9 minutes. Melissa, have you, I haven't been able to chance to even keep up with the comments. Do we have any questions we can go through real quick?
Yes, there is a question for Brandy. Dawn would like to ask if she could talk about using insurance for buy, sells, and cross-purchase agreements in businesses as part of the succession process to complement Shakira's comments.
Yes, absolutely. So when Shakira talked about it earlier, where, family members just kind of assume that they're going to play the position once someone has passed away, these different types of policies help mitigate that, along with what those business articles are saying, right? So they work in direct alignment. So if they're saying, once something happens to a business partner, the succession, we plan to just pay the family out. Well, instead of doing it out of the muscle, that I like to call it, the money in your bank account, you've now set up that policy where that's going to take care of that for you. And so it's kind of like a checks and balance thing. You want to make sure when you're having that business formation set up, you understand what those articles and are lining out. And then you want to make sure that you have the financial fortitude to execute those through the insurance policies, because you're now able to leverage a small amount of money that you're paying on a monthly basis to get access to these larger dollar amounts that doesn't have to come out of your pocket. And then you're checking the balances by talking to that estate attorney and saying, hey, these are the things that we put in place. Now, where do we effectively put these by law to make sure that everything that we've put together falls into place? So it's all a part of the, circle of life.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. And we like to always take some questions for the audience. If you didn't write a comment, you just have a question, I'm going to ask that you raise your hand. Let's see if you have a question you want to ask. Just to get our audience. Oh, we got our board chair. Ken, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
Hey, I was curious. So, living trust, are there any tax advantages to setting up a living trust, or is it all about the death tax? Are there any advantages for while you're living?
While you're living, no, because and the reason for that is because you still have control over all of those assets while you're alive. The tax benefits do not come into play until the time of your death.
Got it.
I'll add a bit of a caveat to that. That's true, and then but add on a gift tax. So if you want to give somebody money, you don't have to pay taxes on it up to $15,000 while you're alive.
I did have one question about the gift tax, right? Because I always wondered, right? Okay, how best do you track that? Because I mean, it's 15,000 1 year, but you said it's like 2 million over time. Can your accountant should be tracking that? Like, how do you keep track of that? How do you keep track of all of it?
Yeah, that's a part of your estate planning to make sure you document that you've given, that amount to whoever the person you've given it to, whoever you gifted it to. So that's something you definitely want to make sure you track with your accountant, your estate planner, and make that as part of your assets that you are transitioning over to the person that you gifted it to. Now, if it's someone that you're not gifting anything to once you pass, and of course we don't like to think we're all going to pass, but at some point we will. But if you don't want to lose track of that, that's something that you definitely want to make sure is accounted for, because you have to pay taxes.
Awesome. All right, that's really good advice. Okay, we're running out of time. I wanted to first of all thank our guests, and Ken, I wanted to give you a chance, to speak to our guests, but I wanted to remind everyone, one, that we're going to be taking a little bit of time off. We're starting to plan the programming for the next year. But if you've been enjoying what we've been doing, we just ask that you, one, become a member of the chamber, two, send me a message on LinkedIn, letting me know you want to keep abreast of what's going on with our financial services affinity group. We also ask that you, if you're in the financial service industry or you want to be a part of the financial service industry, this is a good group for you to be a part of. So we're going to be putting out a program for the rest of the year. Ken had a question, but I just want to introduce you to Ken White. He is our board chair of the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. And so, Ken, why don't you introduce yourself to our guest and tell us a little bit about the chamber, and thank our attendees.
Sure. I'll start with Nelson. You're not taking time off. You're very busy and have a lot of programming that you're putting together between now and the end of the year. So you're not taking time off.
No, definitely not.
One of the great things that Nelson and the Affinity Group are getting ready to work on is collaboration with the city of Mount Rainier. And we're putting a great collaboration with the city and Prince George's County and the chamber. First or second, I'd like to thank Nelson and Nancy and Marie and Brandy and Shakira and Professor Butler for a great webinar today. And thank you to Nelson and Nancy and Marie and Brandy for the summer series. For those of you who may not have participated in all of the financial industry seminars we had this summer, we had a series of 4, and this group put on a great series. And the purpose of that series was to get you guys interested and to share the resources of our members and to provide resources to our share resources that our members provide, and then provide our membership the resources that this group has to offer. And this is going to be carried forward with a year's worth of programming focused around financial literacy, financial wealth building, et cetera. So thank you for that. I want to thank Melissa, who is our admin, for keeping us on track. We could have done all of these webinars this summer without you, putting together flyers on the fly and getting everything out. Thank you so much. And again, 50% of the folks participating were not members. We need y'all to become members. We do have a members only event coming up on the 20th. That is our networking event with the Rockville Chamber of Commerce and the Maryland LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce. We also have our annual meeting. Please save the date. Flyers should be out shortly for our annual meeting that's taking place virtually on November 15th. It's going to be a great event. We're going to be talking about, as Nelson mentioned earlier, what we've done this past year and what we have planned for the upcoming year. We have some great announcements and things coming up for the upcoming year, so stay tuned. We are going to be recognizing 3 of our members for their outstanding work, and we're going to be acknowledging 3 of our partners for our partnerships and collaborations. So stay tuned. And again, Nelson, thank you for emceeing. You did a great job. I think you found your niche. So congratulations and thank you.
No, thank you guys. And also, I just want to thank everybody who's been attending. Real quick before we wrap up, Ken mentioned the reason why we started this group. It was a chance to try to create an ecosystem to highlight our members and their services, and also bring it to the wide membership in the public. I'm a big believer that if you're a business owner and you want to be successful, there is no way you're not going to come across somebody in one of these fields in the financial service industry along your way to success, whether it's a banker to get capital, accountant to help you with taxes, a financial planner to help you manage your wealth, an estate planner to help you protect your wealth, real estate to help you diversify your wealth. So that's what this affinity group was created for. And I think we have our first opportunity for real success and impact with the city of Mount Rainier. So if you know anyone, this is a call to action. They have business, they've seen what we've been doing as a chamber. They have businesses, their Office of Economic Development, that need accounting services and business services. So we're going to be helping the city of Mount Rainier support the businesses in their community. So if you know anyone that's an accountant, please look me up on LinkedIn. I'll throw it in the chat. I'm also going to be releasing just an announcement, a call to action to all accountants in the area. We're not sure how many we're going to need, but I want to start creating and collecting a list of accountants to help support the businesses of Mount Rainier. So with that being said, just thanks to everyone for attending. I hope to see you guys as members. I hope to see you in a couple of weeks as we release our programming, what we're going to be going through the next year. So thanks everyone for attending, and I hope to see you soon.
Nelson, real quick before everyone signs off,
Yeah.
there's a couple of folks that asked for our panelists to put their contact information in the chat real before they go.
Okay, let's do that real quick before you guys log off. I'll put mine in there as well.
And I see that one of our board members is on here. Say, hey, hi, Marva Joe. Thanks for attending.
Oh,
Thank
Marvin,
you. It was excellent, excellent, excellent.
Again, this is mine right here, Nelson Davey. Specifically, if you know someone who's an accountant and you think they can provide good services to the business of Mount Rainier, please message me. All right, thanks again to everyone. I'll give you back some time, or we're a little bit over, we're actually a little bit over time, but thanks everyone. And we hope to see you in a couple of weeks.
Melissa, don't close it out yet. Give folks a second to paste the contact information.
We could stop recording though, Melissa, and stop streaming.